the fuck up, samurai. We have a city to burn.
No, let's play that one more time. Let's play that one more time because I didn't think I got it.
Wake the fuck up, samurai. We have a city to burn.
There we go. Alright. Not a very appropriate opening for today's topic, which I have to talk about. And I try to not step into politics as much or step into everything as well. But I've been talking about this recently, about a certain topic that everybody needs to understand. And that is the Thin Blue Line and the Black Lives Matter movement. Now, I know that I have a lot of fans who are black, and I have a lot of fans who watch me who are, who are cops. A lot of people who are firefighters. I say some shit that, will offend you. I'm not going to say might. No, it will, because I've experienced shit that, on both ends of this argument. I have experienced, dealing with crappy firefighters. I've dealt with dealing with crappy cops. I've dealt with dealing with crappy black people. I've dealt with dealing with crappy people in general. And today's topic, yes, and I know it's going to be a weird one, but not a weird one, because I know I'm probably going to lose fans. I'm probably going to get into some arguments, but I'm going to just say this up front. What happened to George Floyd was not cool. Was not, it was just that was police brutality. That policeman had no right to put his knee on his neck and choke him out like that. And the fact that, we talk about police brutality and we talk about the police the Thin Blue Line and, Black Lives Matter, but when you have evidence, everybody knows the cops, even policemen in their own, policemen who, some of these guys don't see themselves as a gang. Some of them, like Officer Anderson, came out and was addressing all this. People are starting to get fucking angry over the cops. And yes, I get it. Black people in this country have not been respected well. And I mean it, too. I fucking see it, too. Nobody's blinded by this. Nobody is blinded by this. People in this country, nobody... It's going to be a heavy topic. But people, I keep talking about the Thin Blue Line and the Black Lives Matter thing, but it's at the end of the day, it's nobody's making a good argument for themselves. The cops didn't make a good argument for themselves when that one dude decided to put his knee on George Floyd's neck. That was terribly wrong. And to tell you the truth, that Thin Blue Line shit is getting thinner and thinner until it's invisible, and everybody's gonna scream 187, if you know what I mean. It's getting to that point, and it's that is my scares. That's what scares me about this whole thing, And then and before you say anything, no, I don't support police brutality or police states or police extending their authority. Granted, if somebody is acting out of line and somebody is acting more aggressively than they should, then yeah, you should be able to have to pin them down. But. If he is complying well, but if you have no necessary reason to use extra force, then don't use extra force, Officer Anderson was making a point about this, we're doing shit in this, the police are just doing shit, and I agree with this. I have a friend who was a cop in Baltimore, a black friend, he was a cop in Baltimore, and he was talking about this. There's inherent racism in, police forces. There's not, Daryl Davis, who is a man who is willing to talk to Klan members about, about why they joined the Klan and try to convert them away from being in the Klan. And he's a great jazzy musician, too. But I had to mention that because, look him up. He does play some boogie woogie that's pretty damn good. But yes, there's been racism integrated in the, in fucking police and politics and stuff like that. However, it's this bullshit of, you know, even as white people, we see this too. We get fucking treated fucking shitty too. Like, it doesn't matter. You know, if we don't have the money for a lawyer or any of this shit. Like, I've been on the blunt end of, like, the so-called friendly, of, like, police, you know, of the police. Like, they're not friendly towards anybody. You fucking, you know, step out of line, they'll call you. Like, I was called a name. Like, I'm gonna drop some names. Abingdon's police chief, Officer Ramses, a bald Nazi motherfucking looking motherfucker, you know, called me, don't be fucking stupid. Just fucking insulted me. Like, don't be fucking stupid. It's like, fuck you. Don't shoot a black guy. Like, you know, I'm sorry, but there's a time to respect the police, and then there's a time to say 187. And again, I don't want dead cops. It's just anger coming out of my mouth. It just bothers me a little bit, you know? It's, you know, that shit, and, you know, like, we live in an age now where it's, you know, everybody's afraid of Big Brother, but we have a counter to that. Little Brother, who's looking up at Big Brother going, you did that, I'm telling Mom. You know, I understand it because I used to be a little brother, and now I'm just a single brother. But damn, it's not right for police to do that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, police brutality or excessive force, people are starting to notice this shit. Like, people are, like, slowly waking up towards this. And especially with this lockdown bullshit, yeah, it's starting to notice it. And I get it. Before any black person says, well, no, you don't understand. Like, we get it. We get it. We understand now. And people have been understanding. And we have been, you know, been supportive of, you know, the Black Lives Matter community. We have been supportive of that. But however, I'm going to go on the opposite end of the spectrum. I'm going to talk about the opposite end, because I've talked about how shitty the fucking police are. They've been extremely shitty. You know, and I'm glad people are calling them out and shit like that. But then you have the opposite end where it's the Black Lives Matter. And I get it, Black Lives Matter. But also, you want to hear something? I know it's going to piss you off. White lives matter. Irish lives matter. You know, by the way, I'm just going to have to say this up front, and I actually had a talk with a black comedian friend of mine. When I did stand-up, I actually talked, like, he was doing a joke about how, like, all the white people were happy that Donald Trump was in office. And I'm like, you know, and this was a time where I just didn't understand politics or Donald Trump whatsoever. And I was like, no, not everybody was happy that he won. You know, this idea that white people are just all the same, and it's like, no, there's several layers of, like, you know, there's 50 shades of white here we're talking about. You have Irish people who are just like the honey badgers of Europe. They don't give a fuck. The same thing with the Scottish too. We don't give a fuck. We call people names just because we love provoking them and getting them angry so we can fight them better. The Irish are a bunch, the Italians are a bunch of fucking people who, you know, are egotistical and think they're fucking kings. But, you know, really, I'm sorry, but your empire fell a long time ago. Nobody gives a shit. And then you got the French, who are just terrible drivers, sexy as hell, but just terrible drivers, sexual too, so. And then you've got the Germans, who are just, let's just say that, you know, they try to take over the world twice, and they're into some really weird shit. And then you got the Dutch, chocolate loving, Switzerland, which is just a mixture of just French, Dutch, and just whatever fucking other country, Italy, so yes, mamma mia. You know, you got the Scandinavians, you got the Eastern Europeans up there, which they don't really give a fuck about anything. Like, don't fuck with them, and they don't fucking care about shit, alright? They'll fucking put you in the ground, my friend. That's why you got the Russians, you know, they don't give a fuck. They don't see black people up there in Russia. They wouldn't deal with your shit. They would knock you the fuck out and fucking break your arm, too. They don't give a fuck. And then you've got, you know, the Spanish. Yes, I'm considering them white. You know, and I'm talking about the Spain Spanish, you know. And then you've got, I'm trying to think of the other white nations. And don't get me started with Asia, because the Asians do not care for anybody. You know, they're fighting amongst themselves too. Like, it's the same thing in Europe. Like, Europe and Asia are pretty much doing the same thing. They don't kumbaya get along with each other. They hate each other too. You think Japan and China, Korea, I'm talking about South Korea. I mean, now there's 2 Koreas, for fuck's sakes, and they don't like each other. Nobody likes each other, for fuck's sakes. And especially, and again, back to white people, we don't like each other. Europe is always fighting each other. Always fighting each other. Alright? And don't get me started with the English. They think, you know, the English have been known to be fucking assholes too. They had an empire once, they tried to take over everything. And because they thought, well, it belongs to the English Empire because we're the best. You know, a bunch of snobbish aristocrats who think they own everything. And to my English followers out there, I don't insult, I'm not trying to insult your country and your culture and your way of life. But God, and I'm not trying to insult anybody's culture or way of life, but God damn, it's like, as an American, we just had to just step in and be like, no, we want our independence. We're going to do everything opposite. That's why we don't say herbs, we say herbs. And we don't call our flashlights torches, because there's a difference. A torch is something you kind of swing around in the dark with as a fire stick. And a flashlight is something that doesn't burn things. Well, some flashlights do, but you have Australia and Canada, which, by the way, another two white nations, which, by the way, we don't get along with them too. We make fun of Canadians, but don't piss them off, because they will come after you. War of 1902, where they burnt the White House. I'm trying to think of other places too. But at the end of the day, white people don't get along with each other. They don't. We hate each other too. We don't like our own white kind too. Like fucking Germans, you know, fucking, you know, Dutch bastards, fucking, you know, Irish fuckers. Like, nobody gives a shit. You know, and you have this whole, like, and I'm talking to the racist black people out there. Racist black people out there. Who look at all the white people as the same. Are you talking about white people, or are you talking about white people? And I mean, like, you know, the 2 white people I'm thinking of are the yuppified, you know, upper class, you know, darling, please, oh my God, black people. Those people, and you have the opposite end of that, the far end of that spectrum, the racist, bucktooth, you know, Nazi-wielding flag fuckers. By the way, have you ever seen a black redneck? Have you ever seen a black redneck? They exist. And they do wave the Confederate flag, too. Ask them why they do. Because, you know, and this is something everybody needs to watch, is the Joe Rogan interview with Daryl Davis, where he talks about why black people will fly the Confederate flag. I mean, in Charlottesville, there was black people out down there who were waving the Confederate flag. Because it is about heritage, not about race. Because here's a little funny history lesson. Black people back then, like during the Civil War, they were integrated in fighting. Yes, they were still slaves, yes. But they fought together. Not like separately. They were fighting together. You know, not segregated. Like how they were in the North. You had the white camp, but then also you had the black camp. They were separated. No, you don't want to look at that history, because Northern history is different from Southern history. And again, I'm not supporting slavery or the South's movement, but I can respect their fucking ideas for just integrating a little bit. Like, okay, we can't segregate. We're going to have to work together here. Even though the end result was not going to be that good. And another thing, too, I'm just going to say up front. You know, I believe in the Black Lives Matter. I believe that you should stand up for your rights as a human being, goddammit. You're a human being, goddammit. My life has value. Your life has value, as the movie Network says. What you should watch. But when you start rioting, when you start not doing protests that are not peaceful, like stepping out in the streets, calling the policemen out, getting a scene together, protesting. You know, we have these social media platforms that we can do it proper, that we can get the attention that we need. But when you start looting a Target, I ask, what purpose does that serve? What purpose does that serve? And especially like, okay, so you looted a Target and got yourself a nice TV and nice clothes, and you got that, what purpose does that serve? Ask me that. Ask me that. Tell me, does that solve your problem? Yeah, we stuck it to the man by looting and destroying his property. That'll make us look good. No, it doesn't. It's like the drunken mix on fucking St. Patrick's. Or better yet, the fucking stereotypical drunken Irishman. That'll show you, throwing a pipe bomb into a fucking, English store. Yeah, that fucking solved a lot of things. And granted, I believe in non-violent solutions. If we can find a way to figure out some shit without, killing each other, I say we fucking find that way. But overall, it's just absolutely, maddening a little bit. I'm like, yo, this is not helping anybody. You're not helping your cause for Black Lives Matter when you loot a fucking Target and attack white people, too. I'm not saying it's just white people. You're attacking people who are different from you. You're attacking people who don't have the melatonin in their skin. And melatonin is that thing that helps you, excuse me, the melon. You're attacking people who are different shaded than you. I have to address this because this is a topic that, is starting to really get, I try to avoid race talk and stuff like that, but this is some shit that needs to be addressed. And yes, I'm a white person, and I don't know what it's like to be the black man. Well, you don't know what it's like to be the white man. You get this image in your head from media and social media and this fucking everything else that everybody else gets the stereotype. It's also in reverse. We don't know what it's like to be black, but with media, we get this idea. You never talk to white people. And then granted, yes, these dumb bucked, these people that you use a stereotype of the dumb redneck guy. I'm sorry, but if you live in the South, do you go to their area and bother them? Oh, they're bothering. No, I don't like them, so I'm going to go where they live. It's like, no, I don't like spiders, but I don't go where they nest. It makes no logical fucking sense. And again, it's, what about, okay, so nobody stepped in when that deranged black man was beating up on that old white dude, in the nursing home. Beating him. And granted, I get it. It's the black man's revenge. Do you really think this is gonna help anything? This is gonna cause more violence and more racism from fucking white people. Believe it or not, white people fight, and when we're provoked, and yes, and this is all nations of the European, of the European section of the world, white people have been fighting for a long time. Do you think this is gonna make us back off? No. And again, I don't want war. I don't want a race war. Nobody does. But you have to call this shit out. You have to step in and be like, okay, this is not cool. You can't just attack elderly people, whatever skin color they are. You can't attack an elderly white person in a fucking wheelchair defending herself. She's in a fucking wheelchair. Let her go. You want to loot the fucking store? Fine. But don't attack white people. Old white people. Yeah, now you got me doing it. Now you got me doing it. And again, I'm not talking about her skin color. I didn't mean to do that. I'm talking about her age and her condition. She is in a fucking wheelchair, for fuck's sakes. And I know I'm probably going to be called, well, you're just defending the white. No, I'm defending a human. All right? And guess what? George Floyd, yeah. I know I probably talked a little bit more about one thing or the other, but this is, again, it doesn't matter if it's Zimmerman, George Floyd. Nobody knows the name of those two people I talked about. I only know the two people who, in those two videos, as the old white dude and the old white lady in the chair. No name is mentioned. But I know who George Floyd is. I know what, you don't think... I mean, this is a plot. I feel like this is a plot, too. To get us to fight each other more. To get us to fight each other. Because I don't support the Blue Lives Matter nonsense. I don't support... Alright. let me calm down here for a second, because it sounds like I'm being a racist, but it's, again, I do support black lives. I do support white lives. I do support Irish lives, and, Latino lives, and Asian lives, and all lives. All lives matter. We are all human here. Our lives have value, god damn it. And yet, you want to be the fucking top dog racist now? You want to be the Black Klansman? Fine. But don't be surprised when people start fucking throwing rocks at you. Oh, you're just being racist, you're white. No! You're acting like this because, and again, I'm not supporting the fucking police when they act fucking, when they act like fucking authoritarians. I don't support the fucking authoritarian policemen. Fuck the police when they do that shit. Fuck them. I've dealt with their fucking kind before. Don't think I haven't dealt with fucking shitty policemen. I have. And I've also dealt with good policemen too, who were black, by the way. Yeah, want to hear a funny story? When I was walking to the YMCA to get a job, which, by the way, I didn't, I saw a lighter on the street, and I picked it up and tried to see if it worked, and it didn't, so I just threw it down real quick. A policeman, a black policeman, stopped me and asked me what I was doing. I calmly stood there. I calmly just I didn't run, I didn't resist, I didn't act suspicious, I remained calm, And again, I'm so fucking pissed off at this. It's like, and granted, I'm not pissed off that, towards black people or policemen. I'm pissed off on both these people's, I'm pissed off on both, and I mean this, both, attitude and their, aggressiveness. Like, tell me again, I'm gonna say this too, tell me again, was it necessary for that officer, and I don't give a shit what that officer's name is, because if you want to act like an authoritarian, yeah, you're gonna get treated like an authoritarian, was it okay for that policeman to do that to George Floyd? No, it wasn't. It was never going to be that okay. In fact, it's never okay when a policeman does that to any black person out there, or Asian, or Latino, or white, or any other nation of the world. When policemen act fucking authoritarian towards civilians, we don't like it. Nobody does. You think white people get treated the same? I mean, yes, black people get treated differently in this country. I will admit that. But when you don't have the money, when you're not rich, when you don't have the power that some of the elites do, you get treated differently. You get treated like scum. And how do I know this? Because I've seen it firsthand with my brother, who was a drug addict. And by the way we treat drug addicts in this country, it's like a joke. It's like a fucking joke. Well, what's the matter with you? Pull yourself by the bootstraps. Here's an idea. Why don't you lay the fuck off of him? Maybe he's depressed and he's using because he's sad, not because he has a fucking disease. And that's another issue for another day. By the way, fucking drug addicts don't have a fucking disease. They're using because they're depressed. They're using it to mask something else. It's not a fucking disease. How do I know this? Because I was using something else to mask my fucking disease. Which on June 11th, I'm going to talk about. Because that's a topic I'm going to talk about big time. Motherfucking big time on that. But we're talking about this whole thing about two sides that, it's damned if you do and damned if you don't. And yes, or damned if you do, and it's like, here's the thing. Shitty policemen are bad. Shitty black people are bad. Shitty people are fucking bad in general. And I'm just gonna exclude this too. White people can be fucking awful. But let me ask you, I'm gonna ask both sides on this. Do you think it's okay for any of these sides to do this shit? Like, why aren't you calling out any of your side's bullshit? You should! And I know I'm gonna lose fans. I know I'm gonna lose fans on both sides of this fence. But god damn, man. God damn. I'm just so fucking tired of this shit. We should come together on, I damn well say this. I don't support when the police do authoritarian bullshit like this, and I don't support when supposedly a peaceful movement decides to loot a store. Tell me, was getting that new PlayStation 5 worth it? How was that gonna help your your cause? I'm upset. People are upset about this because, we're tired of the violence on both sides of this shit, and yet George Floyd died, yes, but so you want revenge? Is that it? Is that it? Is this, you want to be the fucking slave owners now? Do you want to fucking have somebody's life and torture them? Is that what it is? Because you're fucking upset? That's something that happened to your fucking grandparent, your ancestors? If that's the case, then you should talk to the Muslim nation who are still doing slave trades. Or, the kings of Africa who have been fighting and enslaving each other, which, you don't want to do your history lesson. You heard this one version of history, but you don't want to hear the other version of that. You don't want to hear what was going on over there in Africa. And by the way, white people are not good with hunting in Africa. We were getting fucked up in Africa. Talk to the fucking English, empire about that one. They didn't fucking survive. Let's talk about them Zulu warriors who fucked them up. Yeah. You don't want to mention that. You talk about your heritage, but you don't know anything about your fucking heritage. I don't know anything about my heritage, okay? The only thing I know about is that we have a holiday where we get intoxicated. We pipe the bomb the English. We were treated like dog shit by the English, but what else? What else? And by the way, not a lot of people know this, but Halloween is an Irish holiday, so cheers. I think I've talked long enough about this, but I'm just pissed off, goddammit. I'm pissed off. I'm on fire. I have 2 friends that are going at each other nowadays, and I'm just like, yo, calm down, both of you, alright? I'm not gonna drop any names because I'd rather have it being a private conversation, and I don't want anybody else getting involved with it, but I know who you 2 are, alright? And I'm gonna talk to the one because I'm tired of this shit. You think it's okay for white people, so you want retaliation and you want to see all the white people die. I'm sorry, but you gotta stop. You gotta let that go, man. You gotta let that go. Because rednecks don't come in just one color. They come in 2. In fact, it's a mindset. But you don't want to see that. You don't want to see that. You don't want to see, you look in the mirror, man. You're wearing a white hood, man. You're wearing, and it's not white. It's black because, you don't see that. You don't see that you're becoming as worse as they are. And I'm gonna be honest too, on the other side of that, I don't think the police should have that authority anymore. I get it, there's evil white people out there, I understand that. But you know what? If you think white privilege exists, then how come I'm still living at my parents' house? I was living in an apartment with my brother at the time, and then I got kicked the fuck out by, my white friend and his white uncle to live with his white aunt, who's a fucking psychopath. And you know what? It will never fucking change, by the way, because, she does the whole, when someone yells, she can yell and be nasty to everybody else, but when somebody fucking throws that back in her face, she's like, I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't cut it, bitch. If you wanted to change, you should have done it years ago. Okay. I think I've gone long enough, for 30 minutes in, but goddamn. Again, we need to come together. We can't be separated by this bullshit. I'm going to say it up front. If the police, I'm going to say it. I don't know how to say it. I don't know how to end this, but, we shouldn't allow police brutality, but we shouldn't have looting and rioting when this shit happens. We should have peaceful protests. We should call out the police. In fact, we should call out the police on their authoritarian bullshit, which they have been doing on the black man for a while, and the white man, and the poor people in general. So yeah, but looting a store is not helpful. This is aggravating everything, and it's not helping your cause. I mean, the people, and again, I'm gonna continue a little longer, just so I can get this in, so I can just hit this right in the head. When during the civil rights movement, black people would walk into a predominantly white, cafe or a restaurant and stuff like that, and sit in the restaurant doing nothing, and white people would just come in and spit and, just be the fucking nastiest to people. David Hoffman covered this, and they were just being like thrown rocks and shit and called names, but they just sat there, and they took it because endurance is stronger than physical force. You can beat somebody all day, but if you can't move you can be an unstoppable force, but if you can't move an immovable object, they're gonna surrender. You can hit them all day, and if you're gonna get tired of doing it, they're not gonna move, then you won that argument, because they haven't moved. You've lost that argument if you're trying to push them. You can't push a mountain. That mountain's gonna stay there forever. You can blow it up, you can try, but you don't have enough dynamite to do that, my friend, and nobody's giving you a nuke. Okay, I think I've gone long enough, but god dang, we should come together right now. And I'm just a guy talking in his fucking robe, talking to a camera on YouTube, Instagram, on social media, probably gonna get buried. But you don't want to hear from me because I have white skin. I have this white fucking skin here. By the way, if I ripped it off, it would be red flesh underneath, like you have red flesh underneath. The red fucking flesh underneath all of us. This fucking skin you see right here is nothing more than a covering from the sun. And all the bacteria and deadly diseases out there. So yeah. Alright, I think I'm done. I hope you like this video. Please comment, like, subscribe. Tell me what you think. And yeah. So if I lost fans, I'm sorry if you got upset, but try to think about it sit down, get away from the news for a while, and have a joint and just think about it. I love you all. Don't get me wrong. I love you all. I love you as fans, and I love having to hear what you have to say, but please step back a second and think about both sides of this argument here. On both sides of this. And I'm not saying that we should support the police when they act unruly, and we shouldn't support, a movement, we should call it a movement when they don't, support what their idea is. I'm an American for Americans, and that includes all Americans, black Americans, white Americans, Asian Americans, Latino Americans, gay Americans. Every American out there. We're not just summed up in one thing. I'm going to make another video when that happens, so I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care, love you, bye-bye, and remember, we gotta stay united. We are the United States of America. And I'm gonna say it again. I'm gonna say this though. Say it again. United we stand, divided we fall. And right now we're getting divided, and we need to come together. So, peace be with you.